looping, text expression, body of while. How are these terms related to while loop? Hello, Sci Pals! I am Ma'am Jerica Quinto, your science teacher for today. In this episode of Agham Alam Hab, we will discuss while loops in Python. We will determine the proper syntax of writing its code. We will also demonstrate how the while block code works. Finally, we will appreciate the advantage of using while loops in programming. In the next few minutes, we will explore science for another moment. Fundamentally, Python programming supports two basic types of loops to satisfy iteration requirements, named the for loop and the while loop. They both have the same basic functionality and only differ with their syntax and condition checking time. For now, we're just going to focus on while loop. While loop is used to execute a block of statements repeatedly. It is somewhat similar to an if statement. It executes the code inside if the condition is true. However, as opposed to the if statement, the while loop continues to execute the code repeatedly as long as the condition is satisfied. We generally use this kind of loop when we don't know the exact number of times to iterate beforehand. To understand more about the while loop, let's check its basic syntax. These are the main elements of a while loop. A space follows the while keyword. A text expression to determine if the loop will continue running or not, based on its truth value. A colon at the end of the first line. The statement or statements that will be repeated. This block of code is called the body of the while loop, and it has to be indented. If a statement is not indented, it will not be considered as part of the loop. We must remember that Python uses indentation as its method of grouping statements. In the while loop, text expression is checked first. The loop's body is entered only if the text expression evaluates to true. After one iteration, the text expression is rechecked. This process continues until the text expression evaluates to false. For beginners, it is suggested to analyze the given loop using a flowchart. Due to the complexity of the computer algorithms, a flowchart provides a breakdown of the essential steps to solve the problem. It also serves as a diagrammatic and readable representation of the solution. To know how a while loop works, let's observe an example. Following the input function, let's enter a value for n. In our example, let's use 10. Next, we're going to initialize the two variables named sum and I. I serves as the counter variable. As we know, it is the one that will undergo increment in every iteration. In this program, the text expression will be true as long as the counter variable I is less than or equal to 10. Reminder, we need to increase the value of the counter variable in the loop's body. It is very important and mostly forgotten. Failing to do so will result in an infinite loop or a never-ending loop. Finally, when you run the program, the output will be the sum is 55. Let's code another example. The loop completes 3 iterations and it stops when I is equal to 9. This table illustrates what happens behind the scenes when the code runs. Before the first iteration of the loop, the value of I is 6. So the condition I less than 9 is true and the loop starts running. The value of I is printed and it is incremented by 1. In the second iteration of the loop, the value of I is 7, so the condition I less than 9 is true. When the loop's body runs, the value of I is printed and it is incremented by 1. In the third iteration of the loop, the value of I is 8, so the condition I less than 9 is true again. When the loop's body runs, the value of I is printed and it is incremented by 1. The condition is rechecked before the fourth iteration starts. But now, the value of I is 9. So I less than 9 is false. And the loop stops. Like all loops, while loops execute blocks of code repeatedly. The advantage to a while loop is that it will go as often as necessary to accomplish its goals, making it a time and effort saver. In this episode of Agham Alam Hab, we have discussed and determined the proper syntax of a while loop. We also analyzed how it worked and appreciated its advantage in programming. That's all for today, Disciples. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. See you again next week for another moment. Only here in Agham Alam Hab, Palajan SciTech Portal. Bye!